All right, let's talk about it. Monday Night Raw, Boston, Massachusetts last night. A lot of things went down. We confirmed what I suspected all along. We're going to see CM Punk versus Seth Rollins on Raw on Netflix on January 6th in Los Angeles. We're going to see Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Ula Fala. Some other things kind of happened that made me realize what's going to happen maybe in both of those matches. The Bloodline, Jey Uso, Sami Zayn, Jimmy Uso, Drew McIntyre, they're all going to be intertwined in both of these stories, it seems like. At least that's what I kind of picked up from Monday Night Raw last night. I think Drew McIntyre is going to get involved in the tribal combat match. I think the Usos, Sami Zayn, who else knows, might get involved in CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. I don't think we're getting clean finishes in either match. So last night, CM Punk kickstarted Monday Night Raw talking about Seth Rollins, talking about he wanted to just bypass him, let bygones be bygones, kind of go on to his next goal, which would be winning the Royal Rumble and heading to the main event of WrestleMania. Seth Rollins, he's been a thorn in his side ever since he came back. We talked about it on the last show. Seth Rollins flipping CM Punk off, trying to charge him on the entranceway at Survivor Series War Games back in 2023 when Punk returned in Chicago. He's been a thorn in his side ever since. He was the special guest referee for his match against Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam. Seth Rollins has wanted CM Punk one-on-one for almost a year and a half. If you really want to go all the way back, a decade plus, because Seth Rollins was mentored by CM Punk. He was a protege of CM Punk. CM Punk's the reason Seth Rollins got his start on the main roster with the Shield. CM Punk put that group together. Seth Rollins has a lot to be grateful for from Phil Brooks, but then Phil Brooks left and completely cut ties with Seth Rollins, Kobe Lopez. Now here we are a decade plus later. We're going to see Seth Rollins versus CM Punk, a match 10 years in the making, according to Triple H. The show started last night with Punk saying all of these things about Seth Rollins, saying that he was a fanboy of CM Punk, and then the crowd starts chanting CM Punk, and then all of a sudden Seth Rollins starts chanting CM Punk because Seth Rollins is in the crowd where he used to come out with the Shield, saying that this fan is proud to be a fan because this fan, Seth Rollins, has main evented more WrestleManias than CM Punk ever will, saying, "That's a fact, Phil." And then CM Punk and Seth Rollins start brawling in the crowd and by the entranceway near the barricade. This is the first true brawl we've seen between CM Punk and Seth Rollins. We saw them scuffle a little bit 2 weeks ago before Sami Zayn and Jey Uso got involved. But this time we saw CM Punk and Seth Rollins completely brawl to kickstart Monday Night Raw, a Boston brawl, if you will, on Monday Night Raw. And then that's when we got the official word that we're going to see CM Punk versus Seth freaking Rollins on Raw on Netflix on January 6th. Now, will it main event the show? I think this is easily a WrestleMania main event without a title involved, without anything but Phil Brooks and Kobe Lopez involved, Seth Rollins and CM Punk. But it might not main event because you also have Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa for the Ula Fala. We might see other title matches involved. I think we might see Rhea Ripley versus Liv Morgan for the WWE Women's World title. I don't think we're going to see Cody Rhodes back for a while. I was kind of speculating that we might see Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens for the Undisputed WWE title, but I think that's a little too much. Maybe Gunther defends the World Heavyweight Championship against someone on January 6th, but that's still yet to be determined because we have two WrestleMania main event worthy matches on the card for a Monday Night Raw 3-hour event on Netflix on January 6th in Los Angeles, California. I'm pumped, okay? I think we are guaranteed to see someone interfere in the tribal combat match between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. And I think we are guaranteed to see that interference come from one nasty, bitter Drew McIntyre who's coming after the OG bloodline. It looks like to me, I think the OG bloodline he's talking about is Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Sami Zayn, Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa. I think those are the 5 men that he's going after. Because remember when he beat Sami Zayn, he said 1 down, 4 to go. 1 down, 4 to go. I think those 4 are the Usos, Roman Reigns, and Solo Sikoa. I mean, Solo Sikoa is the guy that originally screwed him out of the title in Cardiff, Wales at Clash of the Castle 2 years ago. I think that's his man. I think that's one of the guys he's going to go after. But if it's the original bloodline, that makes perfect sense too, because Drew McIntyre is a heel and Solo Sikoa is also a heel. And Solo Sikoa needs to look strong to keep his tribal chief story running against Roman Reigns because he looked awful getting his ass kicked by the Usos, Sami Zayn, CM Punk, and Roman Reigns at the end of Survivor Series War Games just a couple of weeks ago in Vancouver. I think Solo Sikoa needs to go over in this match. I think Roman Reigns with a feel-good story, getting the Ulafala back from Roman Reigns. I think that's what most people would want to see. And then maybe The Rock comes out. I think that's the only way Roman Reigns wins against Solo Sikoa for Tribal Combat on Raw on Netflix, is that he finally gets the Ulafala back. He puts the ones to the sky, and then If You Smell hits, and then we have a showdown between The Rock and Roman Reigns for the Ulafala at WrestleMania. That's the only way Roman Reigns goes over clean, is if you're going to kickstart that eventual juggernaut WrestleMania main event feud between Dwayne and Roman. If not, if Rock's not coming back to WrestleMania this year, like a lot of people are speculating, I think Solo Sikoa needs to win this match, and he can only win this match by interference to make Roman Reigns look strong. And I think the man that's going to interfere in that match is Drew McIntyre. Given that he's the heel, Roman's technically a face right now, you kickstart that rivalry heading into the Royal Rumble between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns, who have always had great in-ring chemistry. Drew McIntyre is at the height of his success right now in the WWE, being a nasty, bitter heel, come after all of the guys that he feels like screwed him over and all these conspiracy theories. And then Roman Reigns is obviously the guy in WWE right there next to Cody Rhodes, who's the actual champion. Tribal Chief versus a bitter Drew McIntyre heading into WrestleMania season. I don't know how that plays out. I don't know if Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre is a WrestleMania level match that they want to go to, but it's an idea. And then Solo Sikoa can go on being the true Tribal Chief after winning Tribal Combat. And then you go into maybe a feud with Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso. I don't know where you go with Solo Sikoa from there if he's not going after his own bloodline. That time will tell on that. But I think Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre, I think, is a little bit of a feud that WWE is going to explore heading into the Royal Rumble on February 1st. But like I said, you could try different things with the Royal Rumble because there could be multiple different feuds in the Royal Rumble match. I think Roman's going to be in the Rumble match. I think Drew's going to be in the Rumble match. I think Solo's going to be in the Rumble match. John Cena's going to be in the Rumble match. I think Punk and Rollins are going to be in the Rumble match. This might be one of the greatest Royal Rumble match from a individual superstar standpoint that we've ever seen, because there's so many intertwined stories and there's so many huge names. We're going to see CM Punk and John Cena in the ring probably at one point. That's going to be awesome. I think Randy Orton will hopefully return by then. Orton will be involved. It's going to be old school versus new school, old bloodline versus new bloodline. I mean, we're going to Punk Cena, Punk Reigns, Punk Orton. Like, there's going to be so many cool matches that we could see within that. We saw Punk versus Rhodes for like a good 10 minutes in the Royal Rumble match last year. That was awesome to see. They had like a mini one-on-one match before Punk was thrown over the top rope by Cody Rhodes for him to eventually win that match and eventually win the main event of WrestleMania at WrestleMania 40. But there's so many things that are going to be determined on January 6th when Raw goes to Netflix, because we're going to see multiple interferences. I think Drew McIntyre, to me, he's going to interfere in Roman Reigns versus Solo Sikoa and screw Roman. I could be wrong unless The Rock gets involved somehow. I think CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, that one's still a little bit blurry. I think that one could end in disqualification with both guys really going at it with one another. Maybe we see a heel turn that night. I think that's the thing in that feud that has yet to be determined. I think they're going to play it by ear and see how it plays out. They're obviously going to have a couple of matches, it seems like, if they're set to face each other at WrestleMania. If we see CM Punk versus Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, it'll be the culmination in the final rubber match of that feud, because we're getting the first one on Raw on Netflix, January 6th. We'll probably see another one maybe at the Royal Rumble or at the Elimination Chamber in Toronto, and then you eventually blow off that feud at WrestleMania 41 in Las Vegas. But what's yet to be determined, and if they do it at all, is turn one of the guys heel, because they're both unbelievable heels. They're both baby faces right now. CM Punk is a baby face. Seth Rollins is a baby face. Seth Rollins has proven to be an unbelievable heel. CM Punk has proven to be an unbelievable heel. Do you turn one of those guys heel before WrestleMania? Maybe we see someone turn heel Raw on Netflix. I mean, this is going to be the equivalent to Raw 1000, the equivalent to really like a SummerSlam Survivor Series type card where you have really big matches on a show that's probably going to have the most viewership in the history of WWE from a global standpoint on Netflix, because everybody uses the streaming service. I hope what happened between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul's pay-per-view doesn't happen on Raw and Netflix. We don't need a bunch of bitter and disgruntled pro wrestling fans with a ton of buffering on Netflix, but that is yet to be determined. Hopefully they have figured that out by now. They lived and they've learned through the Tyson Paul experience. But we're going to see some pretty unbelievable stories unfold between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa, whether or not The Rock comes back and gets involved, or whether or not Drew McIntyre shows face in that feud for Roman Reigns or Solo Sikoa. Like I said, he can go after either or, because both of them screwed him over in the past. Or if he's coming back and he's going to screw over CM Punk again. Maybe Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre form an alliance. We saw them backstage on Raw. Seth Rollins was adamant about the fact that both Jey Uso and Sami Zayn are his friends, and that Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins are not alliances. They are not allies. They are not friends. Seth Rollins has issues with CM Punk. Drew McIntyre also has issues with CM Punk. Seth Rollins has issues with Roman Reigns. Drew McIntyre also has issues with Roman Reigns. So at the moment, Seth Rollins is like, hell no, I am not your ally. But we'll see if that plays out over the weeks to come, because who knows who else is going to get involved in this Punk Rollins storyline. Because again, there's so many intertwined stories with the Usos and Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns and CM Punk. Drew McIntyre and Seth Rollins are involved in a lot of stories. Maybe Kevin Owens gets involved in that at some point as well. Remember, Kevin Owens has issues with the bloodline. That's what started this whole beef between him and Cody Rhodes and him and Randy Orton. Cody Rhodes teamed with Roman Reigns. That's when Kevin Owens turned heel at Bad Blood, and then he turned on Randy Orton for teaming with Cody Rhodes, with choosing his side over Kevin Owens' side. That's why he got a pile driver. Cody Rhodes got a pile driver. Maybe we see another pile driver on Raw on Netflix in Los Angeles. Maybe Kevin Owens gets involved in the feud between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Maybe he attacks Sami Zayn, because we're definitely going to see that rivalry heading into WrestleMania season. I think that is a guarantee. I don't know how he would get involved in CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, because both of those guys don't really like Roman Reigns. I know Owens isn't fond of CM Punk, but they've never really crossed paths. Unless Sami Zayn gets more involved in that feud in the next couple of weeks. Remember, we have 2 more Raws before Raw on Netflix. We got Raw next week, which would be the 23rd, 2 days before Christmas, and then we got it on the 30th, a day before New Year's. Maybe these stories play out a little bit more, and we can get a much more clearer picture as to who's going to be involved in the CM Punk and Rollins feud, and who's going to be involved in the Roman and Solo feud. As of right now, I am for certain Drew McIntyre is getting involved in this feud between Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. At least for this match, it'll be determined who he screws over. I'd like him to take out both guys, because both guys screwed him over in the past, but I think the logical thing to do here is have Drew McIntyre screw over Roman Reigns, which further catapults Solo Sikoa in his run as the tribal chief and his new bloodline after a devastating loss at Survivor Series, because Roman Reigns is still Roman Reigns, regardless of a win or a loss, over Solo Sikoa. And then you have a feud between Drew McIntyre and Roman Reigns heading into WrestleMania season. The CM Punk and Seth Rollins thing, I think, plays out over time, over the next few months, all the way till April into WrestleMania in Las Vegas. Maybe someone turns heel between the two. Again, both great baby faces, both even better heels. Someone's going to turn heel in that feud. I think you could do either or. The thing with CM Punk is that if you turn him heel, fans are still going to cheer for him. He's going to be by Paul Heyman's side. People love Paul Heyman regardless. Punk and Heyman to be together, you have to have Paul turn on Roman. I don't think you could have CM Punk and Paul Heyman as heels on one brand and Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman as faces on another. I think Paul Heyman's got to be a face or a heel. So that's to be determined. We still don't know what CM Punk's favor from Paul Heyman is going to be after CM Punk agreed to team with Roman Reigns in the Bloodline at Survivor Series. Maybe they're trying to get rid of CM Punk versus Seth Rollins early, Raw on Netflix, and then the Royal Rumble leading into WrestleMania season. That way that they could clear the path for a CM Punk versus Roman Reigns feud with Paul Heyman involved for WrestleMania 41. Again, that's tentative to see if The Rock's going to be involved at WrestleMania. If The Rock isn't involved at WrestleMania this year, WWE has a lot of pivots to make that can make things very exciting and very unpredictable. If The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania, you have one of two choices. You're either going to have Cody Rhodes versus Rock for the title, or you're going to have Rock versus Roman for the Ulafala. And I think that's what is going to determine this. If The Rock's involved at WrestleMania, I see Roman going over against Solo on Raw and Netflix. If The Rock isn't involved, I see Drew McIntyre getting involved and screwing Roman Reigns, and then Solo Sikoa is catapulted as the tribal chief moving forward. If The Rock isn't involved at WrestleMania, I think we see CM Punk versus Roman Reigns with Paul Heyman involved at WrestleMania. If he is involved, I think you have to go Rock versus Roman, considering you have no idea what Rock's schedule is going to be like over the next few years. He's only getting older. He's 50 plus years old. I think you have to do that dream match, which is the ultimate payoff to this bloodline storyline that you've been telling for almost 5 years. The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson, the final boss versus the tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns, for the Ulafala, tribal combat between two badass Samoans in WWE, the two biggest Samoans and two of the biggest superstars in the history of WWE. You pay off that story. Rock versus Cody. I don't think anybody's eager to see that match. I know you got to finish that story at one point, but we want Rock versus Roman if he's involved this year. If not, Roman versus Punk with Paul Heyman's involvement is a story that's going to make a lot of bread. You're going to get the bag between Phil Brooks and Roman Reigns there. If not, you pay off CM Punk versus Seth Rollins. I don't know what's going to happen. So many great stories. What do you guys think? Leave some comments below. Remember to comment, like, and subscribe on our YouTube channel at Jack O'Hara TV. Until then, we got more coverage coming your way shortly.